The Nun, the review of the official teaser trailer. Now I'm quite late to this, mainly because this would have been one of the first trailers I would have reviewed, and the reason I didn't review it is mainly because I kind of passed this off as just another kind of Annabelle type of spin-off cash grab from the Conjuring series. However, after kind of researching this just a little bit, I think that I'm kind of in the middle here. On one hand, I think that this can easily be a cash grab type of film, but at the same time I think the studio is putting in quite a bit of effort into making the best film they can, and we could have a very good prequel to the Conjuring franchise. So I became very interested in this not by watching the teaser trailer. The teaser trailer actually put me off. I became interested in this after finding out about the premise, about the official premise of the plot, which was: in 1952 Romania, a nun, a Catholic priest and a novice sent by the Vatican investigate the mysterious suicidal death of a nun at the Carter Monastery. Fascinating. This is a very, very good plot. I mean, it's very simplistic, but then as soon as you read it, all these questions start to make sense. And I just became more and more curious about it. I'm kind of 50-50 on this. Whereas before I was zero, I would have never went and watched this movie in cinema. Now I think I might actually go and watch it. So without further ado, let's begin the trailer for The Nun now.
Word of my visions reached the church,
And I was asked to accompany a priest to an abbey in Romania.
The abbey has a long history.
Valak.
Not all good.
What?
Finley him down. Callahan's here.
Okay, so the trailer starts off straight away that says make sure you watch to the end. Now when I first saw that, I got excited, and of course when I watched the ending, like I said, I wasn't really scared or anything. I was actually let down, and it kind of confirmed to me right then and there that this was going to be a cash grab. Of course, now I see it under a whole new different light, and also I watched it on a bigger screen this time, so maybe that's why it worked. But yeah, we'll continue. Now that is scary. As soon as the lights turn off, the picture of the demonic nun in the painting became real. It's like as if the real demonic nun is standing there. That's very scary, especially if you watch it on a bigger screen, and that actually worked on me in The Conjuring 2 when that first happened. This doesn't mean it's going to be any good, but I think that's a very effective thing that they've done there. So this girl here, who is playing a nun in this story, she might look very familiar to you, someone from the Conjuring movies, and yes, you're right, you're absolutely right. This is Vera Farmiga's sister. Vera Farmiga is the wife of the demon hunting duo, and this is actually her sister in real life. This is Vera Farmiga's sister, so that's why she looks very alike Vera Farmiga. I think this will also play a part in the plot. What we could be looking at is Vera Farmiga's character's great-great-grandmother, maybe. This movie can possibly do two things. It could explain to you the origin of Valak and how this demon nun, or this demon took the shape of a nun and came into our world, and also explain the origin of Vera Farmiga's character, how she kind of got into the supernatural. Maybe it was her destiny all along, and it all started with this ancestor of hers. Okay, so she says that she had a vision, and she had a vision of a nun. The word of her vision got to the church, and they kind of assigned her with a priest to go and visit an abbey in Romania. Now, the trailer is not actually showing you the premise, which was, of course, they're going there to investigate the suicidal death of a nun. If you look at the kind of premise and you kind of collect what she's saying here, I think we can kind of connect the first act just by these two separate entities. On one hand, just looking at the premise, we can clearly see that this is a kind of detective-esque story about an investigation. And then over here we have a girl who has dreams of a nun. Now I think in the first act what's going to happen is that we're going to see her having these dreams of this nun. It probably will not be in demonic form, it will probably be in the human form, possibly crying out for help or talking to her in some way. At the same time there will be a mysterious death in the monastery of a nun who, let's say, possibly, I don't know, jumped off the edge of the building and possibly fell onto the ground. And the only conclusion they could get from any of this is that she committed suicide. This kind of feeds into the traditional horror trope of faith versus skepticism. In this situation, it's religious faith. And this is a kind of theme that kind of went through the first two Conjuring movies, especially the second one. This whole theme of skepticism, approaching this whole thing with skepticism, right? You're telling me that your voice is changing and so on and so forth. Well, prove it scientifically, and they simply can't. And so I think this movie is, of course, playing on that very brilliantly. So I think what's going to happen is the officials will have it as this death of the nun was a suicide, but based on her death, the church thinks no, there's much more to it than that. This couldn't have been a suicide if this dead nun is coming into this girl's dream, and this girl, this young nun, Vera Farmiga's sister, she has no relation to that monastery whatsoever. So I think that's what the first act's going to be about. It's about kind of making these two paths cross so that she could then enter the monastery, and then it will possibly become haunted house or a haunted castle type of film. And the rest, I'm afraid, is going to depend on the writer and mostly the director. There's an endless amount of haunted house stories and movies, and I'm just hoping that this will be different.
Sister, please. This way.
Hello.
Here we are. So yeah, again, so the teaser trailer doesn't really show you much. However, based on this and the premise alone, we can kind of piece together possibly the first act, how it's going to be set up. Now, to me, that, in all honesty, the setup to the film sounds decent. Okay, decent enough to kind of, I would say, catch my attention and go in to watch this. I'm hoping that they can spin this on its head. I'm hoping that the haunted house element of this is brilliant. It's just gonna have to be tricks, gags after gags after gags, and tricks after tricks, and twists and turns. That's the only way they're gonna kind of win the haunted house part. Once she goes in, once it turns into a haunted house, a haunted castle type of story, that's the only way they're gonna win. But the mystery of the nun, the suicidal nun, and what actually happened to her, and what this has to do with Valak the demon coming, taking her form, or taking the form of a nun, has got me curious, and I do want to see it just because of that. And I can only hope for the best. Okay, thank you, bye bye.